Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Am I the antagonist for telling my wife there is no way she is naming our son after her ex? My wife lost her first husband James 8 years ago. At the time she was pregnant with their baby girl and miscarried soon after his death. Now we are expecting our first child together, a baby boy. She was set on the name James. I told her that's just too weird for me, and while it's a nice name, I don't want to name my son after her ex. She dropped it, and eventually suggested the name Oliver. I loved it, and we agreed. 3 days ago her family was over for dinner, and I told them about the name we've chosen. Her sister then said, "Oh, so like James," and I was confused. So sister said, "Well, that was James' middle name, wasn't it?" After they all left I told my wife I've had it with her trying to push her ex into our lives like this. She said we already agreed on Oliver. I told her I'm not signing the birth certificate if she names him after her ex. She says being insensitive. Her mother says I should let it go because it was just a middle name. Her sister says it's weird to name the baby after the ex in any scenario. AITA, I apologize for saying ex-husband instead of late husband. I'm Mexican. English isn't my first language and I wasn't aware that the distinction between the words is so crucial in this setting. Again, apologies. Now for the top comments. NTAX 1000 I seriously cannot believe how many comments there are here where people are suggesting that you are the asshole. Yes, she's a widow and I understand that she probably loved her first husband dearly and that they were going to start a family. However, if you are going to move on and build a life with someone new, then you need to commit to that. If you don't, it's insanely cruel in many ways to your new partner. I'm not saying she needs to erase the memory of her first husband, but naming your kid after him is a little too much. Also, she straight up lied to you by omission by suggesting his middle name and not telling you that was his middle name. That's unbelievable. She did that because she wanted to get her way, and that was her way of trying to overcome your resistance to the idea and your objection to it. Honestly, it was downright manipulative and conniving. I can't help but wonder if this post were made by a woman whose husband was pulling the same shenanigans. If the comment section would look a little differently, you and your wife have some talking to do, and maybe you guys can come to some sort of compromise. I would definitely discuss her deceptive behavior. If there wasn't a child involved here, I would probably say that you should walk away from the relationship because of the poor character she has shown. But there is a child involved. This is going to be a difficult conflict to resolve because you guys have a baby on the way and she is clearly not over her deceased husband. I'm sorry you have to go through this. It really is a shitty situation. There are so many judgments calling him insecure and jealous of her late husband because he doesn't want his child, I assume first, named after him. I don't get how that's so deplorable. It's their child. The late husband has nothing to do with the creation or raising of that child. Why on earth would you name him after someone so significant that a child has no relation or involvement with? Imagine that conversation when the kid is older. It sounds like the wife hasn't fully worked through the grief of such a traumatic loss, husband and baby. I wouldn't even know where to begin healing and moving on from that, and is trying to shoehorn, for lack of a better word, her late husband and old life into the one she's built with Opus. It seems like a horrible situation for both of you to be caught in, with hurt on both sides. But Op has clearly communicated his boundary and wife stomped over it in a very underhanded manner. A lot of people here are seriously out of touch. How is it okay that she tried to trick him into naming their child after her last husband after he explicitly said he wasn't comfortable with that? Come on, not the a-hole. Yes, it's shocking to see so many people say YTA when the wife lied and tried to trick him into naming their new child after her dead husband, even after he explained how it makes him uncomfortable. NTA Op for telling your wife you don't want to name the baby after her dead husband. But you do need to stop calling him an ex. I think couples therapy may be in order before baby comes along. Edit. Word. Pof. Scrolling through the comments to find the or the a-hole comments, but can't find them. Am I the antagonist for going off on my husband and his mom for taking/keeping my used pregnancy test? I, F27, found out I was pregnant very recently. My husband, M34, and his family are beyond happy and excited. From what I heard, my husband was married 2 times before, but couldn't have kids for 10 years. This is obviously a huge deal for his family, because his mom will be a first-time grandma with this baby. They threw a celebration dinner for us, and as his mom and I were talking about the baby, she told me about how she already started making memories, having keepsakes of her grandbaby. I felt a bit confused and asked if my husband bought something for the baby and gave it to her. She said no, but he did bring her my used pregnancy test and gave it to her to store as a memory of the news of her grandbaby's existence. I was floored. I looked at my husband like, "Did you really do that?" And he nodded while smiling. NGL, I felt creeped out, disgusted and very uncomfortable. After the initial shock, I just went off on both of them, calling what they did creepy and disgusting and highly violating. My husband argued that it was not a huge deal. He just grabbed the test once I got rid of it, put it in a plastic bag, and gifted it to his mom as keepsake. I told him it made me feel violated and creeped out because that test had my literal pee on it. His mom then said something about taking care of the smell, and I lashed out even more and demanded they get rid of it, but they kept arguing, calling me controlling. Brother-in-law asked me to calm down, but I decided to just grab stuff and go home. My husband started arguing about how this is all just an overreaction and said that I ruined his and his family's joy by how I behaved after finding out about the pregnancy test. He said for him and his mom it's all about the baby, but I somehow made this whole thing about me and hurt their feelings in the process. But that was my literal pee on that test, and I just couldn't help but flip out, even if it ruined their joy for the news. Did I overreact? Now for the top comments. From what you heard, he was married 2 times before. What do you even know about this man? That's not a normal thing to be unsure about. Agree. I can't get past this wording. From whom did Op hear this information? If it wasn't her husband, something is seriously wrong with this relationship. NTA. To do that without your go ahead is bizarre. To double down and blame you for being upset is concerning. Decent people would get rid of it and apologize for making you feel that way, not try to make you feel worse. That for your husband and his mother, this is all about the baby and he's angry you made anything about you, the person who is pregnant, that it's their feelings that matter to him, while they dismiss yours. This lack of respect and consideration for you is worrisome. AITA, I've already given my judgment, so this isn't an INFO request. But do you know why your husband's previous marriages ended? Do you know why your husband's previous marriages ended? From the way she mentioned them, from what I've heard, he's had 2 marriages before. I don't think her husband tells her much. NTA. First grandbaby after 10 years plus of waiting. Girl, there's a lot more in store for you. I wish you good luck. We may be seeing you here frequently, and in that subreddit with boundary stomping mothers-in-law. Am I the antagonist for not inviting my dad and his wife to my wedding? When I, 24F, was 12, my dad, 43 male, cheated on my mother, 42F, with my godmother Mary, 46F. Mary and I always had a good relationship and I saw her as a 2ND mother figure. Mary is infertile and always told me that I was like her own daughter. I saw how badly my dad's cheating hurt my mom, so I started to resent him and Mary. I started seeing my dad and Mary twice a year and refused to see them on birthdays, on holidays. When I turned 19, my dad expressed how badly he wanted to see me on Christmas, so I decided it wouldn't hurt to see him and Mary. When I was at their house, my mother came into a conversation and they talked about how with so much hate, Mary said things about how she thought that at first she thought my mom, who was dead at the time, being diagnosed with breast cancer was a joke, because she always knew my mom was an attention seeker. I went very low contact with my dad and Mary after that. I'm getting married in a month and a cousin on my dad's side, who I was still on good terms with, told my dad and Mary. I was immediately bombarded with texts from Mary and my dad telling me how hurt they are and how I took away a big experience from them. I do feel bad because I'm taking away a big experience from my dad to walk me down the aisle. And since he refuses to adopt and Mary is infertile, he won't get this opportunity. Some friends and people on my dad's side say that I should stop holding a grudge, and the only person who had a problem with my dad and Mary's relationship was my mom, and now that she is dead I shouldn't care. I'm very stuck here and don't know what to do. I'm getting mixed answers from everyone and I don't understand if I did anything wrong. I wanted to get unbiased answers. Now for the top comments. NTA. Your dad and Mary betrayed your mother in the most painful way possible. Shit talked her after she was dead and have the audacity to come at you for taking away a big experience for them? Fuck that. I'd straight up tell them that you don't want anyone at your wedding who couldn't even keep their own vows, and you don't want anyone in your life who trash talked your dead mother. As far as you're concerned, they're as dead to you as your mother is. I'd also tell anyone who tries to convince you otherwise that you have no problem cutting them off too if they don't shut up. Also, the only person who had a problem with the relationship was the mom, and she's gone. 1. It's your mom was the only one who had a problem, it was his wife. And 2. Op had a problem with it too. She just gave them a chance to prove her otherwise, and they failed miserably. NTA. Toxic people are toxic people. Blood or not. NTA, and I highly recommend going fully NC with the pair of them, and possibly going LC with the family members who don't see what they've done as being in poor taste. Am I the antagonist for declining to crochet a sweater for my cousin? I, 38F, crocheted myself a cardigan recently that I really like and wear often. I went to visit a cousin, 42F, and her daughter, 18F, with my mother, 71F, and wore the cardigan. Cousin's daughter complimented me on it and abruptly asked me to make one for her. I explained it took me about 40 hours to make mine. It's fine yarn and pretty long, and that I could send her the YouTube tutorial I learned it from. She starts to tear up a bit and sniffles while telling me that's not fair. You know I don't know how to do that kind of stuff. I try to gently explain that the YouTube tutorial is really good at teaching how. She's still looking pouty. Cousin pipes up at this point saying it would be nice if I could just make her one. That she's too busy to spend all that time on a sweater BAKUSESEWORKS. This hit a nerve with me because my cousin often makes passive aggressive comments about how I don't work in the Samwim to 3 kids under 8 and have a little home-based business doing tailoring and mending, some crafting etc. She doesn't consider my work to be real work. Acts like I must live a life of leisure. Previously I had always bitten my tongue and changed the subject because I didn't want the drama, but I just let it out this time. I told her I do work, and I do it while caring for 3 children. She laughed and said it hardly pays enough to be considered work. I lost my temper and told her my finances were none of her damn business and that she's out of her fucking mind to think she can treat me so rudely while trying to demand hours and hours of my labor for free. Cousin starts crying at this point and the visit obviously ends. Afterwards my mom tells me she is very disappointed in me for swearing in front of my cousin's child, and that I'm partly to blame for wearing the sweater that started the argument and I wasn't polite. I flatly told her that's ridiculous. It's an article of clothing. It's meant to wear. I have quite a few pieces of clothing I've made myself. Should I stop wearing them all in case entitled people decide they want me making them all free clothes? Anyways, now my cousin and cousin's daughter are thinking I'm the asshole, and my mom thinks we're all assholes apparently. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. My time is valuable. It takes me 40 hours. My rate is $30 plus yarn. This sweater is worth $1,250. Are you actually asking me to give you over $1,000? I used to have an app that would calculate what an item cost factoring in yarn and estimated time. Now people know that if they want me to knit them something, unless it's a gift, they supply the yarn and some good quality chocolate as payment. NTA. Hell no. The child is an adult who apparently has been taught to whinge and cry about how things are unfair when she doesn't get her way. When cousin starts crying, we immediately know who taught her this manipulation technique. It was obvious that cousin was going to take your hard work to give it to her spoiled child. Then your mother jumps in with both feet because you swore in front of an adult. Heavens. Fetch my smelling salts. I feel faint. People who don't do crafts don't appreciate the time and effort that they take. You did nothing wrong and shouldn't apologize, even to make peace. I'm laughing at an 18-year-old crying because they don't get something they want. That's toddler behavior. Come on. Am I the antagonist for refusing to help/support my dad's pregnant stepdaughter? I'm a 21F college student. My dad's stepdaughter is 18 turning 19 soon and expecting a baby. She has no idea who the father is and she's been left behind by her friends who are all in college after graduating last year. She never went and stayed living with my dad and her mom. Now she's pregnant, doesn't have a job, and isn't in school, but she's planning to go now, which IDK. I don't believe that. But I know my dad wants to. I transferred and I now live about an hour from my dad because I'm so much closer now. He wants me to help out his stepdaughter, give her a place to stay some nights so she can get away from their house, maybe be a sister to her, offer to be an aunt to the baby. She and I have never gotten along, and I personally think she's a spoiled brat, and I do not consider her family, even though by marriage she is. But we never treated each other like sisters, and have never counted each other as such. She regrets that now. She told me as much. She realizes I have people in my life who would be there for me in a heartbeat, which she doesn't have outside her mom and my dad. I told my dad I wasn't interested, that I'm happy with where my life is, and I don't trust her to follow through, nor do I care enough about her to reach out. It's the honest truth. I don't care if she does try or not. She's not important to me. It upset him because he wants more for her. He wants me to want this so badly, but she wasn't part of my life for as long as she was his. I was 15 when I moved in with him after my mom died, and before that I saw him a few weeks of the year. My dad was upset but not angry. His wife, however, thinks I'm a bad egg, to quote her, which gave me pause. She said family helps each other. Wouldn't I want her to help me? The answer to that is no, because I have seen what her help leads to. Do I not long for a sister that I never otherwise had? All this stuff. Then she talks about how her baby is special and important, and I should cherish her. She told me only bad eggs refuse to help. I might be wrong now, but I consider that her way of calling me an asshole, and I only entertain that because my dad is hurt. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA. Funny how they say family is supposed to be supportive of each other when they are trying to get rid of the pregnant teenager who is living under their roof. Oh, this isn't them trying to get rid of her. It's their way of trying to add even more coddling into her life. NTA. They are trying to offload her. Don't fall for it. They're the bad eggs, not you. I see this as more ways to coddle her, so she has even more people running around doing stuff for her, helping her out when she's the one who should be making moves. But poor little girl can't do any of that stuff herself. Wibta for disinviting a guest from my wedding over the color of her dress. My 23F wedding is at the start of August, and I've been confirming RSVPs this weekend to finalize seating and catering, etc. I ended up chatting with one of my uni friends, B, 24F, and we got onto the topic of clothes for the wedding. And B was saying how excited she was to dress up as she hasn't been invited to a non-family wedding before. Now while we are both British, B is ethnically white, where I'm South Asian. She said she wanted to wear a sari to my wedding, so I told her a few places she could get a nice one, and she went shopping. I did tell her that red was our bridal color, so it should be avoided. Now she's saying that she fell in love with a red and gold sari and has bought it. I told her that's the color of my bridal gown, and she needs to find another outfit. She said she's sure it won't matter on the day, but like, that's the equivalent of someone wearing a white dress to a Western wedding. She's refusing to compromise and change her outfit because she loves it so much, and she won't have another occasion in which it's appropriate for her to wear a sari. I don't want someone wearing red and gold on my wedding day. Would I be the antagonist if I uninvited her over this? Now for the top comments. NTA at all. You told her beforehand no red. She went and ignored your instructions. What is with people and knowing the rules and requirements beforehand and then ignoring them? Her not having another occasion to wear it is not your problem, and you have nothing to feel bad about. She chose to make it impossible for herself to attend by not following the requirements. That's her doing, not yours. She's very disrespectful. Exactly. I bet that she wouldn't demand to wear a white gown to a Western style wedding simply because she liked white. So, it is curious that, since it is a culture not her own, that she doesn't see the need to respect not wearing the same color as the bride. It doesn't matter that she wants to play dress up and feels entitled to wear whatever color that she wants. She can stay home if she can't respect a basic wedding request. NTA, she's insisting on wearing a wedding dress to your wedding. She can stay at home and wear it there. I'm a white American and have never been to a Asian wedding, but I know that red is the bridal color and would be inappropriate, and even if I didn't I would find out because you wear what is appropriate for the culture. And it sounds like it would be like not only wearing a white dress, but showing up in a white wedding dress. Ooh.